Thank you very much. Thank you for waiting. Today, we have with us Mr. Rafael Mariano Grossi, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Mr. Grossi arrived in Japan this morning, and the planned discharge into the sea of AlPS treated water at TEPCO's Fukushima Daiichi Nuclear Power Station, the IAEA, has been reviewing the safety and regulatory related aspects, and there's this comprehensive report that contains the outcome of the review. And just earlier, the Director General has presented the report to the Prime Minister. The press conference will be held with simultaneous interpretation between English and Japanese. We'll be asking Mr. Grossi to make some initial remarks, and then after that, we will be answering and taking questions from the floor in the venue as well as online. Please ask your questions either in Japanese or in English. I will be serving as the MC today. I'm Sugita Hiroki from Kyodo News, member of the JNPC Planning Committee. The interpreters are OHNO Rie and Watanabe Naoko from Simul International. Now, Mr. Grossi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, almost evening. It's very good to be back in Tokyo and to be back here, where I held a press conference some time ago. So, of course, today, on the occasion of this visit, and in particular, given the importance of what we are doing, I felt that it was important to be with you again. Would you like to translate? Or?
Oh, no, it is a consecutive. So
okay, very good. Excellent, excellent. So just by way of introduction and before I take your questions, to say that just a few minutes ago, I finished a meeting with Prime Minister Kishida, where I had the pleasure to deliver to him, to hand over the comprehensive report that the IAEA has prepared on the AlPS treated water plan and the way ahead, which is, in fact, the result of a dedicated work of more than 2 years. If you allow me to recapitulate, more than 2 years ago, more precisely in April, between February and April 2021, Japan concluded its basic policy with regards to the water which had been accumulating around the nuclear reactors. And Japan required the IAEA to make an assessment of this plan. At that time, I indicated that, of course, the IAEA, in pursuance of its statutory authority and its mandate, would be ready to perform such a task. And I added that I thought that for this to be a comprehensive effort that would be looking at a plan, but also at the future, it would be important that the IAEA be present before the plan will be implemented, during its implementation, and after its implementation, so as to provide with a comprehensive evaluation and with an effort that would be projecting itself into the future. Today, I can say that after this effort that has been carried out by the task force that I put together within the IAEA, and with the assistance and advice of prestigious experts on radio protection from all over the world, including from neighboring countries, that the plan, as it has been proposed and devised, is in conformity with the agreed international standards, and its application, if the government decides to proceed with it, would have negligible impact on the environment, meaning the water, fish, and sediment. And lastly, as I said, we have agreed that the IAEA will have a continued presence at the site, will continue the review if the plan moves forward, because as you know, this is a decision by the government. It's not the IAEA decision, it's a decision by the government of Japan. The government decides to proceed with it, the IAEA will be permanently here, reviewing, monitoring, assessing this activity for decades to come. So tomorrow, I will be heading to Fukushima, where I will be meeting the management of the plant, will be also establishing the permanent presence of the IAEA at the plant, and will be meeting local stakeholders, 11 mayors of the region, fishermen's associations, and all those who have something to say about that. Because I believe in transparency, I believe in open dialogue, and I believe basically in the validity of the exercise we are carrying out. So this is the stage, this is the situation as we see it, and as we intend to carry it out. With this, I am, of course, open to your questions or comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grossi. Now we will be taking questions. You can ask questions either in English or in Japanese. This is simultaneous interpretation, and therefore you can ask either in English or Japanese. If you have a question on the floor, please raise your hand. I will designate you. Use a microphone near you and state your name and affiliation before asking a question. Those of you who are joining us online, please press the raise hand button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. I will designate you, unmute yourself and ask your question. And you can also send in your text. Please state your name and affiliation and put your question in the text format in the Q&A box. So from here on the floor, anyone? We have hands up. Yes, that person. The person in the front row, please. Please use your microphone.
Hello, Director General. I'm Yifan from China's Xinhua News Agency. So the contaminated water could be diluted from the AlPS system, but this water has come in direct contact with the reactor that suffered a severe meltdown. So how reliable and effective is the AlPS system in processing the water? And will there be a long-term supervision mechanism that allows other countries to participate in once the discharge begins? And the last, are there any other options to deal with the wastewater other than to discharge it into the ocean? Thank you.
Thank you very much. 3 questions in one. Very good. Regarding the reliability of the system, I must say that to come to the conclusions we are coming in the present comprehensive report, we have, of course, evaluated this. This has been done throughout this period of more than 2 years. I must say that this process of dilution and chemical and other filtering is nothing new. It's something that exists in the industry. We have assessed it. And not only that, I have also handed out today, together with a comprehensive report, the first report of the interlaboratory exercise we carried out. You know that in order to assess that the readings of your samples are correct, we send them, of course, we have them in our own laboratories, and then we send them to a number of laboratories all over the world, certified laboratories all over the world, and then we get the results. And when these results are fully compatible, then you have certainty that the system is working as it was envisaged. So the system, from a technical point of view, of course, is a system that is reliable. In terms of the long-term supervision, as you called it, we are going to, or we have agreed that the IAEA will continue to be here. As you know, the IAEA is an international organization, is the international authority that all countries, including China, have given or created to do exactly this. Of course, if Japan wants to allow other countries to perform other controls, is not in my purview. But what I can tell you is that the internationally authoritative voice is the IAEA. This is why the IAEA exists. Regarding other options, what we were asked to evaluate were the two options that the plan could envisage. There were two that the government retained, vapor release or water dissemination. It was the last one that was retained. There are other three methodologies which are not industrially mature. These two are the two that exist in the world. And the water dispersion is one that is currently in use in many countries, including China, in Korea, in the United States, in France, in many countries that have releases of water that contains certain radionuclides. So in this sense, it is an option that exists. The decision about the option, of course, again, I should repeat, is one that is to be made by Japan. We made an evaluation. We compare with other options, and we were able to confirm that this is one that exists, that has a proven track record, and it's being used as we speak today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let us move on to the next question. Yes, that person over there. There's a microphone on the other side.
Mr. Grossi, TV Asahi, Kyodo Station. Let me jump to Ukraine. So regarding Zaporizhzhia NPP, according to the Ukrainian officials, there's a fear that the plant may be subject to an attack.
Yes.
Following the alleged deadline for the evacuation of the on-site personnel by July 5th, which is tomorrow. In parallel, you personally made a visit as early as last month.
Yes.
So my question is, what is your assessment of the situation out there in terms of security, given the current context?
Thank you very much. Well, the situation in and around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is, I have described it many times as precarious, fragile, extremely dangerous. As you know, this plant is right on the front line of the war. I've crossed that front line 3 times. So, and at this current moment, with the counteroffensive and the increased military activity, of course, the possibility of an accident, of a hit on the plant, of the interruption of the external power supply is very high. So this is why we are very, very concerned. This is why I went to the United Nations Security Council and I enunciated 5 basic principles to avoid a nuclear accident. At the moment, we have, as you know, also very important, there is a permanent presence of the IAEA in Zaporizhzhia. We have ISAMS, the international mission, with our experts there, who are informing us every day of what is happening there. We have had cases of allegations, informations, warnings, and of course, we don't have an intelligence service. We can inform of what we see. We certainly hope that nothing of the sort will happen, will take place. We know, and I have formulated a very strong appeal at the Security Council, and I reiterated here today in Tokyo, that a nuclear power plant should never be attacked, and a nuclear power plant should never be used as a military base. So yes, we are concerned, but we are present. We know what needs to be done to avoid a nuclear accident, and we hope that all those who have the responsibilities will act according to that and spare us all a tragic radiological accident over there.
So your IAEA staff will remain on site even after tomorrow?
We're not going anywhere. We are staying there. Yes, we are there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question, please. Yes, that lady over there. Tanaka from TV Tokyo. Thank you for the opportunity. I have two questions. First one is, until the 7th, you will be staying in Japan. After that, you will be going to ROK, New Zealand, and the Cook Islands. I understand that you will be making those visits. What is the purpose of those visits? What do you intend to accomplish? There is this uncertain anxiety, but with scientific assessment from an international organization, do you think you will be able to win understanding from these countries in the Pacific Islands countries?
Thank you very much. A very important issue, of course. In my opinion, you need two things. First of all, a comprehensive, neutral, objective, scientifically sound evaluation. And this is what we have. So we are very confident about it. But at the same time, we recognize that there are concerns. These concerns have been manifested by many. I was in China a few weeks ago, as you know, and I have been in contact with the authorities of the Republic of Korea, also Pacific Islands, and there are questions, there are ideas about what may happen. And I think the best way, and indeed my responsibility, is to be available, to answer questions, to not only indicate from a podium that this is the truth and that everybody should accept it, but to listen as well, why these concerns exist. And like we are doing now, address different aspects. People may have additional things that are not directly addressed because this is a scientific document. People may want to know, for example, is this new? Has this been tried? Where? How long will this take? Etc., etc. And I think my responsibility as Director General of the IAEA is to provide these answers, and most importantly, to confirm to all those who may have these issues that we will always be available, that we are starting a process now. I have assessed a plan. This plan might be implemented by Japan. It's a decision by the government. But when that happens, the IAEA will be there to provide further reviews. So if you ask me whether I wish to persuade them, I don't know. My job is to do an honest work of being available and answer all the questions. The report adequately, otherwise I wouldn't have published it, adequately answers all the scientific aspects related to this. So I hope this is a satisfactory approach for now.
May I ask another question? But we have other people. Well, I initially said that I have two questions. I have another question to ask, please. discharge of treated water. In countries such as China and South Korea, there are strong oppositions, as was discussed earlier. On the other hand, tritium discharge amount per annum at nuclear power plants, actually China releases more tritium water than this time. But what is the basis for such opposition from the Chinese, in your view?
Well, you should ask the Chinese, not me. I listen to everybody. My job is to listen to everybody, to take all the questions seriously, and to try to provide an objective answer to them. My impression is that we have to recognize that such a thing has not happened before. We have releases of tritium, of course, it's nothing new, but there are new elements. For example, is the fact that this has been accumulated for a long time. How is this going to be done? Is this going to be done at a one go? Is this going to be done in batches? I mean, there are many aspects that are peculiar to this particular situation. So there might be additional considerations. But again, I don't want to speculate. I suppose every country have different motivations to have concerns, and I don't want to get into that. What we would like to do as the best way in which we can cooperate is to give answers, good answers.
Thank you very much. Yes, the person in the back. My name is Lee. You issued a report today, presented a report today. If there's going to be discharge of water into the sea, over the long term, like 30 years or 40 years, not just one or two times, over a long span of time, safety of that release of water, how does the IAEA guarantee the safety of release over a very long term? If something happens in the course of that long term, can IAEA take responsibility if something happens?
Well, yes, 30 years, 40 years. And this is part of the safety of the operation, because you cannot release an amount of water that would be above the levels that are normally accepted to an operation of this type. So this is why you have to stagger it. You divide the amount into a certain period of time. You ask, what is the agency going to do? Well, the agency is going to stay. That is the difference. We are not simply saying, very good plan, bye. No, we stay. We stay, and when we stay, how do we do it? We continue to review. There are certain methodologies, as you can imagine. You sample arbitrarily from time to time. You get an idea of what is happening. We are setting up a specific office, an office, I will inaugurate it tomorrow, that will be there with staff of the IAEA there that is going to be there. We do not have an enforcement authority. It's Japan, and it's the Japanese authorities that decide what they do. What the agency does, as we do it in many other areas, in non-proliferation, and we report. And by reporting, we give the international community the elements to judge what is going on. If there was a problem, we would be able to report there is a problem, and the government would be taking the necessary decisions, or the company, in this case, the operator, which is the one that does the operation. TEPCO. I hope this is clear.
Now, Since Mr. Grossi has the next appointment that he has to attend to, we would like to bring this press conference to a close at this time. Mr. Grossi, thank you so very much for giving us your precious time out of your busy schedule. On the 7th, Mr. Grossi, you're going to come back here. So once again, at that opportunity, we would like to continue with this Q&A session then. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. As I said, I will be back to address other questions. I try to be here, even though I had limited time to be able to answer to the fundamental, the most pressing questions. But of course, I would be more than glad to answer more as I will have time coming here or bilaterally. For me, your work is very important. It's through you that I can explain what we are doing. And I thank you very much for that. Thank you. Have a very good evening.